The 49ers have issues everywhere. The question is, can they fix it? Steph Sanchez and I will talk about this right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is another episode of Bully Ball on the Ghost Standard Podcast Network. I love the shirt that you're wearing, Steph, and I think it encapsulates all 49ers fans' feelings. For the audio listeners, it is the meme of the dog with the house on fire that says, "This is fine." But before all that, Steph, how are you?
I'm good, except for the fact that I had to wear this shirt 2 weeks in a row now on our Bully Ball show, which I'm not too happy about. But yeah, this is a depiction of all of us right now. This is fine, right?
Before we get into the game, let's talk about what Kyle Shanahan announced yesterday. Javon Hargrave out for the season, torn tricep. Christian McCaffrey going to Germany for the Kobe Bryant pack. Brock Purdy day-to-day with back issues. As if things couldn't get worse, somehow they have. But let's start there. What on earth do we do with this defensive line that we probably are going to talk a lot about in this podcast that has underwhelmed, to be fair?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, like they've already been struggling and not getting the type of production that I think a lot of us were hoping they would. I don't know if we had like expectations or high expectations for the defensive line, to be fair, going into this season. I think we hoped it would be better. Of course, like the addition of Nick Sorensen being the defensive coordinator now. We were kind of hoping to see that. Look, it as far as Nick Sorensen goes, we can get more into that in a bit, but like it's 3 weeks into the season. I'm not ready to give up on him and what he could potentially make this defense, but the state of this defensive line right now, and with the injury to Javon Hargrave, like definitely makes this so much more difficult, especially because the interior of that defensive line was already so thin. And I mean, look, you're looking at those guys up the middle to help your run defense, and that's kind of where it starts. Like it's nice to get pressure from the middle as well, but I think most importantly is run D. If you can't defend the run, I mean, as we've seen before, you're in for a world of hurt. No pun intended. But like that's kind of where we're heading, or kind of where I feel we're heading with this 49ers defensive line. Without Hargrave, you still have Kalia Davis on IR. It seems like at some point he'll return, but like still waiting for that. I mean, just across the board, there's a lot of things going on with this defensive line, or the defense in general. There's vulnerabilities, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whatever you thought of Hargrave, and I'm glad that that was up there because there was a lot of cherry picking about one or two plays and everything. Turns out he had a torn tricep. He was actually one of the most productive defensive
Yeah.
tackles in the NFL like this week, and he had his best game. Unfortunately, it comes on the back of this. So when you start to look around, obviously you're going to lean on Kevin Gibbons, you're going to lean on Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott, probably Yitzhak Gross models to try to figure that out. It's going to take a lot of people to try to figure out how to replace him. Certainly miss Eric Armstead at times like this right now. That's another thing I think that we've learned. I think Hassan Ridgeway is somebody that the 49ers will probably look at, as a replacement, who's available. Al Woods is available. And Dominican Sue, is that maybe something that the 49ers, go ahead and ask about? I mean, it can't hurt. But at this
Yeah.
point, I wanted to go back to talking about Sorensen a little bit. Right now, you can't fire Nick Sorensen. So let's just
Right.
throw that out. Like you can't. So what you have to do is you have to put your best face on and say, I think that this is going to improve. I am old enough to remember when Robert Saleh was fired, after a month. I am old enough to remember when people wanted D'Amico Ryans fired after a half. Now, the problem is that this defense is performing at 2018 level. And that was probably the worst producing defense that the 49ers have had under Kyle Shanahan, maybe save 2017. The issue is that even in 2020, with all those injuries and everything, right, they still were able to get production from Kerry Hyder and others, and they still were a good defense. We don't know what he's going to be, but for better or worse, you're not going to make a move for a different defensive coordinator. It's not feasible. for something that you've been working on all season and you've tried to implement to now course correct and just move on to somebody else and try to install something completely different. It's not feasible. It's just not. So you have to stick with it, better or worse, for better or worse. Now here's the thing. The defensive line is lacking closing ability, meaning when the 49ers needed a play in this Rams game down the stretch, right? Someone has to get there. I'm big pressures over sacks, right? I love the pressures metric. Someone had to finish and close. And there's no closers right now. Coffee's for closers, and they're not on the defensive line right now at this point. So I don't know. And I don't know what the adjustments are. Going through the film and watching it, it looked a lot like one, Sean McVay is a very good coach. Two, Matthew Stafford can make all the throws, which can make your life difficult regardless of who the receivers are. But I don't know what the fix is. Everything's not tied together. Guys are missing assignments. Guys are giving up big plays, balls over their head, missing tackles. Devondre Campbell's a liability. Isaac Yadam's got a target on his back every time that he's out there. I even saw a play. It was kind of just indicative of how the 49ers season is open. DFF is running to Kyron Williams, falls flat on his face, and just doesn't even get there. And he just runs right past him. Just a day late and a dollar short for this defense. I don't know what the answer is, but it's certainly not getting rid of Nick Sorensen and trying to bring someone in right away and just saying, hey, let's just fix it.
Yeah, definitely not. And as Rob put up on the screen, right? We saw with the first 8 games of D'Amico Ryan's defensive coordinator career with 49ers look like. They were giving up a lot of points, right? So, to your point, there's a lot of people who back then were saying like, "Oh, we need to fire D'Amico Ryan's, man. We can't keep doing this." But I mean, we're kind of hearing the same thing with Nick Sorensen. It's not going to happen. You got to keep riding with this defensive coordinator, and like you said, better for worse, they got to figure something out. Like, I think he's going to have some adjustments, but what I worry about is kind of the weak spots you just talked about, like Isaac Yadam, um, Devondre Campbell. There aren't any immediate fixes for just bad players, and I think Devondre Campbell at one point in his career obviously was a good player, all pro, but I think he's beyond that point. And I don't think like from one day to the next he's gonna magically be good in coverage. Like that's not his game. They even talked about it on the broadcast. They're like, yeah, like he's good as a run defender, but he's never been good in coverage. Like that's not his game. It's never going to be his game. So that's going to continue to be something that offenses target, right? And they're going to try to get those matchups. What can Nick Sorensen do realistically to account for that? Just someone being bad at doing something and offenses trying to make you do that one thing that you're bad at. And also with Isaac Yadam, it's kind of now I kind of see it differently with Isaac Yadam because you do have an option in Renardo Green that you can put out there. I know when Isaac Yadam had the pass interference, they put Renardo Green. He then got called for defensive holding. So look, I see it as this: like Renardo Green is just as capable of making the same mistakes as Isaac Yadam is, but at least with Renardo Green, it comes with the benefit of him getting those reps, learning on the fly, right? Again, with Isaac Yadam, like he's kind of he is what he is, right? So, and offenses are going to continue to target that, but yeah, I just feel like it's going to be tough to, I guess, adjust around players that are struggling or players that maybe just aren't as good as we thought. And that sucks, right? Because like Steve Wilkes kind of had the same thing last season with Isaiah Oliver. You're attached to this player, and the success of your defense feels a lot of the times like it's attached to this one bad player. But the 49ers in this case, I think, have options at least for, third corner with Renardo Green. Devondre Campbell, you don't have an option past that because D. Winters also dealing with an ankle injury. He re-aggravated on Sunday. So unfortunately, you're going to have to keep rolling with him. But, aside from that, there could be adjustments. Unfortunately, too, I think going into this season, we all thought secondary was going to be like the main thing for this defense. Like it's one thing for the defensive line to, I think, be underperforming to our expectations just because, look, Eric Armstead, like you said, like that's a big loss for this defense. I think I always considered that as a possibility that they would take a step back without him. But we were hoping that the secondary would be kind of that glue for this defense. And
Mhm,
even the secondary's like not really performing to our expectations. So that's
mhm.
kind of concerning to me too. They could figure it out because like for the most part it's the same players that we feel good about, but like something does have to change. And I'm very discouraged by the fact that they looked like this against an ailing Rams team. Like they didn't have their top two receivers.
Mhm.
So to me, it's inexcusable what we saw from this team on both sides. Sorry, not just both sides, all three phases of this team. So yeah, I was saying it before this game even happened. If they find a way to lose this game, it's inexcusable, and it is. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of looking in the mirror um, for all the coaches on this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, don't get it twisted, and I'm not gonna mince my words. That loss was fucking pathetic. And that's that. I'm sorry. If you came here for oh, everything is the sky's falling. No, but I'm not gonna mince my words about that game. That was awful in all three phases. Well, not all three phases. Let me take that back. The offense is good. The offense is really good, and you know who's really good? Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's really
Mm.
good. And in a game where everyone was looking to pile on Brock, let's see him do it without the Avengers. Brock Purdy literally was 5 drop passes away from nearly a perfect day. I don't know what else you need to see from Brock Purdy at this point. If that was the game that you were waiting for to pile on Brock Purdy, you swung and missed. And if you try to point to that game and say, well, they lost, then you look even dumber. Because if he would have done nothing, talking about, let's say, 220 yards and a touchdown and the 49ers win, oh, well, he was carried. Um, he did all that and they lost. And it wasn't his fault. Fun little fact, Brock Purdy passed Lamar Jackson for the most 130 plus passer rating games in their first 3 seasons in NFL history. I'm good, Brock. No notes. Maybe you should have thrown that ball to Brandon Ayuk. You still did enough. You still did enough to win this game. And that's a little bit of a glimpse of what it might look like for this offense moving forward. Talking about years down the line. It might just be Brandon Ayuk and Jawan Jennings, possibly George Kittle. It might be that. It might. But you got a glimpse of what it looks like when Brock's back is against the wall. I think he answered the call. And I think if you're one of those Brock Purdy detractors, you didn't have a good day on Sunday. And if you're going to use this game to prop up whatever narrative, then you're even dumber than you were before.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch this game live, Jay, because I was moving, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when I started watching it, later that night, I was like, I knew that they lost, but I didn't know the score, and I didn't know in what fashion they lost. So I was
Mm-hmm.
going into it just kind of expecting, obviously watching it for the shoe to drop. And going into it, I was kind of, oh, like maybe Brock Purdy struggled a little bit because he didn't have all those guys on offense. Like, man, maybe that's what happened. But no, as soon as I started watching, I see the 49ers go up 14-0, and I'm like, man, Brock is playing phenomenal. I can't imagine this team losing this game because of Brock. And sure enough, as I kept watching, like he continued to be that glimmer of hope. And even at the end of the game, like he's a silver lining that we look at, right? um I think we also have to consider the context that is against like a Rams defense that was also ailing and out a lot of starters. But I still admired the fact that he was extending plays. He was doing whatever he could do to get this team and that offense moving. And yeah, I mean, I think that is an encouraging sign because you aren't always going to have these superstars on this team. You aren't
Mm-hmm.
always going to have the Avengers. So yeah, Brock showed that he himself could be an Avenger for this team, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's great for the team. Now can we talk about the issues on offense? I know you wanted to sprinkle some good in there, and I appreciate
I
that,
do.
Jay.
I
But
do. I think Malik
you know,
Collins had a really good game too. I do, especially after watching the film. I do. I think Diamador Lenore had a really good game as well too.
yeah, Lenore's good.
I do. I definitely want to sprinkle in
Let's
positivity
bring
because
we'll
that's
sprinkle
not
it.
us. That's not us to just say the sky is falling. But I'm not gonna mince my words and not say that loss was fucking pathetic. I'm sorry. That's just not gonna. Like, this is not the podcast for you. Like, if you don't want to hear anything about this Rams game, I get it. You know what I mean? But we have to talk about it. And I'm not gonna say, oh, everybody chill out. And I'm not gonna tell people who are overly concerned to just chill out now. I mean, there's ways to fix it, but I'm not gonna gaslight people into thinking like, don't worry about it. No, we've got to talk about it.
Well, then let's talk about the bad things on offense. Colton McKivitz, Ronnie Bell, still bad. Breaking news. And look, what I want to get into here, Jay, when I'm speaking about both of these players, first I'll start with Ronnie Bell. You see when he makes that drop, on that late in the game, Kyle Shanahan throws his hands up in the air. And it just reminded me of that meme that it's like, we're all trying to figure out the guy who did this. Why was he in there? Why was he in there? Why was he in there?
We're all trying to figure out the guy who did this.
We're all trying to figure it out, Kyle. But yeah, so that was a little funny and frustrating to me to see, because we got the answer from Kyle Shanahan why Jacob Cowing, didn't get any involvement in this game aside from special teams duty. And it seems like he's working his way, and look, I get it. Cowing missed a lot of time in training camp, he's behind the curve. I get it. But there's things that Cowing does, and I think he's a dog. I think you put him out there, he'll figure it out. Like, and he needs those reps. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, it's the stubbornness of Kyle Shanahan and this like these receivers need to be polished. They need to know the playbook in and out before they could step foot on the field for this team that I don't necessarily agree with. So that was a little frustrating for me, because I think Cowing could have provided more of a spark than Ronnie Bell did. At the very least, he would have caught those passes, I think. So, so that's a little frustrating to me. And then, I don't know, it's just this continuation of seeing like rookie receivers get, I don't want to call it into the doghouse. He's in the academy of Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. Like, he's going to the school, and if he fails, like, he'll end up in the doghouse. It's a little too early to say he's in it. But let's just say, if this happens with Ricky Pearsall, if Ricky Pearsall comes back from IR and dude is not on the field, people are going to be fed up, like way more than they are right now. I'm going to be fed up.
Now you're
talking. For real, because like,
now you're talking.
And at some point, like, it's got to be like, okay, well, if these receivers aren't getting up to speed quick enough, like at some point that falls on you. You're the coach.
Yep.
So in look, Debo's rookie season, he got on the field, he figured it out, he looked good, right? Why can't it be the same thing for some of these other guys where they get on the field and they learn on the fly? Because they can catch the football and all this other stuff. Like, maybe it's a blocking thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But you got to, as a coach, like, you got to figure out a way to get these guys, these playmakers on the field. Because I know for a fact Jacob Cowing is a better playmaker than Ronnie Bell. I know for a fact Ricky Pearsall is going to be better than Ronnie Bell or whoever else, right? But they need to get on the field to help this team, because I'm not having games rely on the hands of Ronnie Bell or anyone else.
So yeah, let's just start. And if I'm not in a playful mood and I'm in a blunt mood, I apologize. Jacob Cowing isn't going to see the field for a while. When you listen to Kyle Shanahan speak, he's working his way through this offense. He's a ways off. Okay. Absolutely, there's no shot that Ricky Pearsall immediately comes on and joins the field. No shot. None. And if you thought that was going to be the fix, then I guess we're just not. Because, all right, Jacob Cowing misses training camp with a hamstring. And you say, oh, well, he's behind. He can't get in. Ricky Pearsall misses training camp with a shoulder. And then he has the unfortunate shooting incident. Then he misses 4 games. Are we just about to start to think that Ricky Pearsall is just going to jump on the field and jump everybody when He's missed more time than Jacob Cowing. Didn't even play in a preseason game. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. My issue with the Ronnie Bell thing is this. Ronnie Bell's a better run blocker, I'm told. Cool. Maybe that's true. But you're not running the ball when Ronnie Bell's on the field. You're throwing him the football. So why is he there? If he's a better run blocker. I haven't seen Jacob Cowing play one down in the NFL, and he's better than Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell's a better run blocker. That's why he's on the field. Then stop throwing him the football. When he's on the field, make him block. If he's such a great run blocker. I love Kyle as a coach, but I disagree wholeheartedly with this. It's dumb. You drafted Jacob Cowing. You identified him. You said that's the juice that we kind of need to lift this offense. And then you look at number 10 from Michigan, who's not a burner down the field, doesn't have particularly good hands, is just a catch and get down guy. And you said, let's get him out there. I've got an issue with it, Kyle. There's nothing that you can answer me as condescendingly as you like about what I don't know and what you know. Batman won't get me to understand why this is working. Batman could lift me from a building by my leg, and I still wouldn't get it. I'm not going to get it. There's no sense to it. None. And then Brock Purdy delivers. He couldn't have put the ball in a better spot for Ronnie Bell. Like, he couldn't have walked the ball to him in a better spot, and he still can't catch the ball. I want to turn this into a little bit of a funny thing. I want number 10 taken away from the San Francisco 49ers. Not one person should be allowed to wear number 10 again. Nobody. You could trade for Justin Jefferson. If he wants number 10, tell him no. Number 10, get out of here. No more number 10. Everybody get rid of it. Shout out to Jimmy Garoppolo. We had some fun moments, but no more number 10. I'm done with it. We're getting that shit out of here. Yeah, we'll see, Alberto. Oh, we will see. And you know what? I will give Brock Purdy this credit. He said, I could have delivered a better ball. Hey, man. Respect to you.
Noble. Yeah.
Respect to you. Way to be a leader, right? This is why I could never be a quarterback and why nobody would ever follow me. Because I'll be like, damn, what am I supposed to do? I handed him the ball right in his chest. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just how it is. But yeah, I think I'm done with the Ronnie Bell thing. I don't want to talk about it too much more. I do want to talk about special teams.
Yes.
Special teams. I feel like special teams hasn't been good since 2012. If that's even true, because then we all know what happened in that season.
It's true.
Ted Ginn's the last 49ers player to run back a punt. So this issue goes further than Kyle Shanahan. But it almost feels like they don't practice special teams or they don't have an emphasis or care about it. It's almost like, well, I feel fine about the offense. We're really good there. We've got some things. And, we'll do like 10 minutes in practice on special teams. I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do here. So I'm going to pass it to you, Steph. Special teams. Talk to me about it.
I mean, in all seriousness, I just want to ask the question, what has Brian Schneider done in his time with this team to improve the special teams unit? Name one thing. I'll wait. Nothing. Steve Wilkes got fired for less, in my opinion, after just one season. This has been so many years of mid for the special teams. Mid to bad. And these last two games for the special teams has been just god-awful. And it's, like, impacted the outcome of this game. And I'm with you, Jay. Like, I don't even know what they practice. What do you guys work on? Apparently, they knew that the fake, punt was coming.
That pisses me off more than anything.
Like, I almost would have felt better if they didn't know versus they knew and they just couldn't stop it. Like,
I'd be pissed either way.
What were you doing?
Because everyone in the building knew. I knew. Watching the game, I knew.
Everyone knew. That's what I'm saying. Like, everyone knew, and yet, like, and then the final Punt return. Punt coverage is ass. I am sorry.
Are you going to talk about
Not
the punt?
sorry. It was terrible too. That was also terrible. But that's what I'm saying. Like across the board on special teams, it is awful. Awful. Something needs to change there. And I have an idea as to what can be done. Because, like, if we're going to, everyone talks about, oh, have that same energy for Nick Sorensen that you had for Steve Wilkes. No, I want to have the same energy for Steve Wilkes for Brian Schneider. He needs to go. He needs to go. If they're, like, I would have fired him, like, after that. Like, after week 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He needs to be gone. There's nothing he has done to improve the special teams. Nothing.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. Look, on that punt, that needs to be angled in a different way with more air under it. I hear about this famous Mitch Wisnowski banana ball that can't be caught. Well, where is it? I mean, if there was ever a time for you to punt the ball so they could drop it, just stop making things up about punters.
Kick it out of bounds, man.
Stop making things up about punters. Stop making things up about kickers. Stop making things up about them. They're punters and kickers.
It's literally their only job. It's their only job.
I love that everybody's now on board. Like, I can't believe the 49ers spent a 3rd-round pick on a kicker. I can't believe the 49ers spent a 4th-round pick on a punter. Yeah. And yes, I'm going to keep harping on this. Because if you use a valuable draft pick on a specialist, they better be the best ever. Justin Tucker's missing kicks. It doesn't matter. Why would you do that? Why? Whatever. Special teams, though, completely done. Cooked. I don't understand. And I don't know what it is. Guys are just not in position. And you could see that punt being run back a mile away. A mile away. And absolutely, it gets right down the field. That game disintegrated in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's insane how quickly that game just if Moody makes the field goal, game over. You know, we're home free. 55 is in a chip shot, but in this league, with the people that are making kicks from where they are, for a 3rd-round pick, you have to make that. No 2 ways around it. You miss that, next play, bomb right over the head to Tutu Atwell. You get the ball back, you go. Ronnie Bell, drop. Punt the ball, boom. They're right back. Game over. In a matter of 2 minutes. That's how to blow a game in 2 minutes for dummies. All right, here's the question I have. Is this the worst regular season loss in the Kyle Shanahan era?
I think it has to be, right? Like, what other one could you consider?
Maybe Arizona with Colt McCoy. Well, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the fact that, like, this Rams team was skin and bones. Like, what did they have besides Sean McVay coaching them and Matthew Stafford being their quarterback? Like, what else? Like, like I said, literally no excuse. None. And I don't care that the 49ers were missing players as well. They're still a damn good team. And they still were good enough to beat the Rams. They should have beat the Rams in this current state that they're in, even with their own guys missing. So no, this is by far the worst, especially in the fashion in which it happened, right? A collapse. You don't close the game out when you had multiple chances. You keep them in it, even like from the first half. It's bad. It's so bad.
Here's the stat. And I don't want to keep this negative because we're going to talk about positives and things like that. Obviously, the season's not over.
No, we're cooking.
The 49ers were 50-0, went up 14-plus points in the second half under Kyle Shanahan. The Rams had 101 straight losses, went down 14 points in the second half. If Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and everybody was there and they were firing on all cylinders, maybe I feel better. But today's Tuesday. This is almost like a wrap-up because I don't want to talk about this game anymore, but that loss was fucking pathetic. No two ways around it. We got a super chat. Let's read it real quick. Tumor Sauce says, would you bench BA or Debo to start JJ? Well, funny enough, first of all, Juwan Jennings has these massive games and the 49ers find a way to like lose heartbreakingly. So I think it's a bad sign when Juwan Jennings has these massive games, right? As funny as that sounds. But Brandon Ayuk was definitely drawing so much attention from the Rams secondary that it allowed JJ to operate one-on-one and do his thing. Not saying that he needs all that and everything. Juwan Jennings was one missed call away from 200-yard game. I think the only other player that's ever done what Juwan Jennings just did was Jerry Rice. But Brandon Ayuk still needed to be there to cause a lot of attention his way. And the Rams paid attention to him. And you know what? The Rams did exactly what any normal sane team would do. It's not that they don't respect Juwan Jennings, but make someone else beat us. Go to someone else. Let's see if he can beat us. And Juwan Jennings was. I don't think you bench either of them for him. I think Juwan Jennings goes into the same sort of role, that clutch role. But Brandon Ayuk being on the field helped Juwan Jennings a lot. And I know you wanted Brandon Ayuk to catch passes and everything, and I guess that's a whole other discussion. But his impact on the field was felt due to how advantageous the matchup was for Juwan Jennings for whoever was in front of him.
I wouldn't bench either of Ayuk or Debo.
No.
But there's no reason at all that Juwan Jennings shouldn't be more involved in this offense.
I agree.
Because obviously, like when he's gotten those opportunities, he's shown like he could ball out, like, and he could bail you out in certain situations as well. He bailed them out in the Super Bowl. He helped them in this game as much as he could. Of course, him and Brock Purdy's great performance on Sunday very much tied to each other.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, I wouldn't bench either of those guys. But yeah, JJ needs to have more involvement in this offense. I think it's about time. It's kind of crazy knowing what we've seen from him both in the Super Bowl and on Sunday. It's kind of crazy that he hasn't been more involved, to be quite honest with you. And I even in the back of my mind, I see Jordan Mason, and I know like he had 71 yards on Sunday, so it wasn't like his 100-yarder type of day. But I'm looking at Jordan Mason these last 3 weeks, and I'm like, how the hell was he behind Elijah Mitchell for as long as he was? Like, how did we not get Mason on the field more? So, again, that goes into the stubbornness of Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion, of rolling with the top guys and not finding a way to incorporate these lesser known guys, or like, the guys who are a little down on the depth chart. But if they're ballers, they need to be on the field or they need to be involved. That's why I think we see so many times that when their numbers are called, some of them, like a Ronnie Bell last season, Ray McLeod, that's why like they're not prepared, because they aren't even getting those opportunities before. So then it's like from 1 week to the next, it's like, okay, here you go. Like now we're expecting you to do this and be something for this team when you haven't even gotten any of those reps with the starter probably in all of practice, or you didn't get any of those opportunities in games really if the other guys were healthy. So there needs to be more involvement, I think, for the depth guys. If, of course, like I'm not saying just give it to anybody. I'm saying, but if guys look good in practice, give them those opportunities. Like obviously Juwan Jennings has probably been doing this stuff in practice as well. Jordan Mason had probably been doing some of this stuff in practice that we're now finally getting to see. So it doesn't have to just be like your top guys. I know Avengers, all this stuff. It's hard to, like, you don't have to bench someone to get someone else involved. You know what I mean? Someone behind them involved. So that's kind of my frustration as well. It's a thing I've seen, but like the loss on Sunday, I think like amplified that a little bit more. So yeah. And Durant right there.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. We got like 10 minutes left. I want to end this on a positive note. And I want to point out some things that you can point to because history is probably the greatest reflection of what the future can be or predictor. The 49ers have lost many games that they should have won. The 49ers are a team that peak in November, December. The 49ers are, for all intents and purposes, going to get reinforcements back. Sounds like George Kittle is going to play this week or practice at least, and it puts him on track to be there. That helps. The New England Patriots stroll into town with Jacoby Brissett and that offense. I know that we sound like a broken record saying this every week, but maybe we have to really come to the realization that the Minnesota Vikings are a good football team because I think they are. I think they are top to bottom. I think everything that they're doing is, we may be looking at them as a playoff team. I think they are good. I don't think they're world beaters, but I think they're good. They're much better than they were last season. This loss to the Rams is indicative of a coach that was good enough to navigate this, understands, how to get his guys open, and a quarterback who can make all the throws. And if you're not on your A game, it doesn't matter who's out there. Matthew Stafford is going to make DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, and all those guys look like superstars because he can make all those throws. The New England Patriots come to town. Jacoby Brissett, banged up team, right? Brandon Ayuk is probably going to see Christian Gonzalez, for the entire game. Still a good opportunity for Juwan Jennings. I think he's going to have a very good game as well, too, because Christian Gonzalez is going to follow Brandon Ayuk everywhere. You can bet that they're probably going to roll covers that way. There's hope. The season's not over. If my tone in this podcast sounds down, it's me just talking about this one game. I'm not out on the 49ers. The 49ers still have a culture that has won a bunch of games, have dug themselves out of bigger holes, and done the improbable at times when it didn't even look like this team was resembling anything worthy of a playoff team, championship team, whatever. So I'm not done. I'm frustrated with the way that this game went because they should have won it. And they should have won it running away. But that doesn't mean the season's over. We have to actually sit here and dissect this game. So if I sound down about this game, it's because of how this game makes me feel and how easy and winnable it was. If I would have told you that Brock Purdy was going to put up those numbers and have those numbers, and so was Juwan Jennings, you would have said the 49ers won by how much? But we didn't. So here we are. I don't like to be the person that's just like, oh, everything will be fine. I believe things will be fine, but I'm not blaming anybody who's concerned. You should be. These aren't good signs right now. But reinforcements are coming. This is a team that has held it together in dire straits and worst moments. I still believe that the 49ers are going to be fine. But it has to start next week. It has to start next week, and it has to start with you. I don't care how you win this game. I don't care what it takes. You have to win this game. Now, I hate that this is a must-win game in week 4. I hate it. But you put yourself in this position. This is a must-win game, but I believe the 49ers will get it done. But I hate that it got to this. I really hate that it got to this, and it didn't have to be like this, Steph.
You have to be able to beat the teams that are inferior to you. You have to. And just with the way that, Sunday's game went, now I'm like, I don't even know if they can screw it up against the Rams. Who's to say that they can't screw it up against the Patriots?
And I don't want to see anybody being super cocky about this one, right?
No.
You should win. You should win this game. I don't want anybody to be, oh, it's the Patriots, and no, because we've done that 2 straight weeks. We've done that 2 straight weeks. Maybe Minnesota's really good. I think they're good. After watching them again and watching the game again, they're good. Los Angeles is a well-coached team with a great quarterback. Take care of business. Take care of business, man. Please. For once.
Yeah. I honestly, at this point, yes, I understand they obviously could come from this and turn their season around. They've done it before. So I know they're capable of it. But I'm also still unsure what this 2024 team is, and then we're also looking at the fact that, 2023, they were able to come back from their, 3 consecutive losses. They turned it around, all that. Yeah. But you're also in 2024 now dealing with the injury bug, which you didn't really deal with as much in 2023.
By the way, the whole
So,
league is feeling it right now with the
oh yeah,
injuries
oh for sure,
everywhere.
like across the
I
board.
don't know what's going on, but the NFL right now is just
It's
injury
weird.
ridden everywhere, which is
It
another
is,
reason for optimism, Steph. Because you look at a
sure.
team like Miami and you're like, oh, well, how are you going to deal with them? Who are they going to be starting by the time that they play the 49ers? I mean, is it going to be Tyler Huntley? Is it going to be Tim Boyle? Is it going to be Skylar like Thompson? Like, we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, yeah, it's not just the 49ers that are dealing with injuries, but the injuries that the 49ers are dealing with are pretty major ones, I
Yeah.
would say at this point. I mean, most of the guys can come back. Debo, hopefully Christian McCaffrey, we'll see him back at some point and not too long from now. But yeah, I think that's what's th- and that's the thing, right? You got to keep the team afloat until those guys come back,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to win the games that you should be able to win. And so this game coming up against Patriots, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off. I don't know if they're going to be able to like put all those things together, but they have to.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, as you have said, like if history tells us anything, like this team is good when they have their backs up against the wall. So that's the one, positive I can draw out of all this. Their backs are against the wall now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I get it. It's we're going into week 4. But like that's where we're at with this team. You're 1-2. The Seahawks are 3-0 in the
Mm-hmm.
NFC West. We know a lot can change, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and very quickly. But you got to control your destiny,
Yeah.
and like we need to stop saying like this team controls their destiny like later into the season. It starts in week 1,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I hate when they drop games like this that they should have won, because it's like you didn't have to make it so difficult on yourself. It didn't have to be this
100%.
way.
100%. I want to make sure we got to both super chats. Okay. Steph, do you want to do a Bosa impression and take us out of here?
Oh yeah,
Motivate the team. Motivate the team for the Patriots. Okay. I'm Ricky Pearsall. Since everybody says I look like him, I'm looking at you. I want to see this motivational thing. Like, go for it.
All right, everyone. So we're going into week 4, and we have our backs against the wall against the Patriots, but there's no reason why we shouldn't win this game if, we're as good as we say we are. So let's go out there and get this win.
Oh my god, man. Oh, that's so good.
Uh,
Thank you. That made me feel so much better. And oh my god, that was perfect. Honestly, that's so good. Hey, look, guys, everything's gonna be fine. I remember what this team looks like. I know what this team is capable of. I know how well coached they are. It's not what we want. Now we sound like Aaron Boone, the Yankees manager. It's not what you want when your team loses 11-1, but I have faith in this team still. I'm just pissed off right now about the way that this game went. But yeah, thank you so much for that stuff. That'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Go Standard Podcast Network. Follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video on YouTube and subscribe to the Go Standard Podcast Network wherever you get all your audio podcasts. For Steph, for Jay, we're out of here.
Peace.